Welcome to Feagan and Finch, the podcast where we discuss everything football related. I'm Alex Finch.
And I'm Ryan Feagan. Let's talk football.
So for this week's podcast, the sixth podcast, believe it or not, we've been going quite a while now with this lockdown period. This week we're focusing on the best front threes world football has seen in the last 20 years. So we're only concentrating since 2000. And to qualify, you have to be a proper front three. So we're talking striker and wingers. We're not talking two strikers in the cam like Kaká, Shevchenko, Crespo. So we're talking about proper front threes. And we're going to discuss the best ones that have been in the last 20 years.
Yep.
So I think, Ryan, you should kick us off as always.
In for a cracking podcast, Finch, as always. Right, so the first front three I'm going for is, honestly, I'm going to kick off with a bang. It's probably the most known front three of the last 20 years. Definitely the most dominant in the short space of time they spent together. This trio was formed in the summer of 2014. I am, of course, talking about MSN, Messi, Suarez, and Neymar.
Starting right from the top there.
Yep. Just going all out, Finch, all out right away. You know, this trio played some of the most sexiest football that anyone's ever seen. They battered, they annihilated, they obliterated opponents whenever they come up against them, Finch. They scored 364 goals in 3 seasons, Finch. 364. That is incredible.
Unheard of.
Mate, tell me about it. In 3 seasons, that is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting stats. I'm sure when the defenders of the opposition just thought, you know what, nah, stuff this. Just crack on, mate. You crack on. You know, this trio in the 3 seasons that they played together, they didn't just score a lot of goals. They also won a lot of trophies. They won 2 La Ligas, 3 Copa del Rey, the Champions League, a UEFA Super Cup, Club World Cup, and a Supercopa de España. They also were winners of the treble in 2015, which is no easy feat, as we've discussed many a time on this podcast about the previous winners of the elusive treble.
A proper treble as well.
Yeah, the proper treble. So it's either your FA Cup, Champions League, Premier League, or the Italian version of the FA Cup, German version of the FA Cup, Champions League, and then the league in their respective countries. But yeah, Finch, what a way to kick this off with this formidable trio.
I mean, you're really starting from the top. They're going to be quite hard to beat because when you talk about most front threes and great front three, just saying if that player doesn't score, the other player would score. But the difference is this front three, they all score all at the same time, all in the same game. They don't just score. They assist each other. Because when you talk about that,
exactly
364 goals, that is absolutely unheard of. Not just that, though. They got 173 assists in the era. Bloody hell. Yep. That is completely unheard of, those kind of stats. Those kind of goals, those kind of assists in that short, it was only 3 seasons, and they're all at their peak in that period and somehow came together to form one of the best trios of all time. With a ridiculous amount of goals, ridiculous amount of assists. That goal tally, most teams would dream of getting that goal tally in 10 years,
exactly.
let alone 3 years.
That's what I mean.
3 players. That's
exactly what I mean, Finch. They got 131 goals in 1 season between them in 2015 and 16. What? 131 goals between 3 players. I'm not just talking about a whole team. Even though they scored the majority of them goals, you still had other players at that moment in time, and it's absolutely mental. And they weren't just scoring against little teams; they were scoring against the big boys. They dominated Europe in 2014-15. They continued to dominate Europe without actually lifting the Champions League trophy. They're a bit unfortunate, but they produced one of the greatest comebacks in history when they beat PSG 6-1. All 3 of the trio, the MSN trio, scored in that game. Neymar got a hat-trick. And Neymar didn't just get a hat-trick, he got a hat-trick in style. That free kick was incredible. I mean, I've never seen a comeback like that. Exactly. They all played a part in all the goals. I've never seen a comeback like that. Obviously, some of the decisions were a little, was it really a penalty? Questionable free kicks and whatnot, or handballs as well. But you can't odds scoring 6 goals against a fantastic PSG side. That was one of my favourite games to watch. But probably my favourite game of the MSN sort of period is the 2 legs against Bayern Munich from 2014-15. That Champions League run. You come up against Bayern Munich, one of the best sides in the world, and MSN just made them look like FC Köln. It was a riot. And what Messi done to arguably the best defender in the world at that point, Jerome Boateng, breaking his ankles.
You still see that clip now.
You see that clip now because it's so iconic of what he can do, not only to arguably the best defender in the world at that point, but also then to have the audacity to chip the greatest keeper in the world at that point, Manuel Neuer. It's hideous. And that's something that trio done week in, week out. They took the mick out of so many teams, played the most beautiful football. This one's going to be hard to beat, Finch, without a doubt. I'm sure we'll list a lot of amazing trios along the way, but I feel like this one's got a place in the final already.
Yeah, well, I think the difference here is that with most of these trios, you have like one stand-up player who gets all the goals. Like you have one player who will get the 40 goals a season. With this trio, they're nearly all of them are getting near enough 40 goals per season, and they're peaking in that period. Like 2015, 2016, Suarez got 59 goals overall. That is completely unheard of. And then Messi 41, Neymar 31. That's almost the top scorer. Like you see most teams in the world that their top scorer would get the equivalent of Neymar's goals, which was 31, and that would be a really good feat. But Neymar was almost the lowest top scorer of that front three that season. That shows how good they were.
Exactly. Other than obviously Salah getting 32 goals a couple of seasons ago, when was the last time someone got 30 plus goals in a Premier League season?
Yeah, although these stats are from all competitions. It's worth pointing out.
Well, even still.
Yeah, so only recently Liverpool's front three in terms of for the Premier League have come anywhere near close in terms of goal scoring stats for each individual player, but even they were nowhere near this. But when thinking about it, looking at these stats, they should have really won the Champions League every year. One Champions League probably doesn't warrant how good they were.
No, that's what I mean. One Champions League, 2 La Ligas. They should have won probably La Liga every year. But there was another trio. I'm sure we'll make our list that we'll discuss.
But we're just looking at it now, because those stats are unheard of, the 364 goals, 173 assists. It is incredible that he didn't win another Champions League and didn't win all 3 La Ligas.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing which holds back this trio in terms of they're going to be unrivaled in terms of the goals and assists, but in terms of what they won, maybe another trio could rival them.
Yeah, that's it. I 100% agree with you, Finch. 100% agree with you.
And whilst you're talking about that, and you mentioned the other trio which might have held them back in the Liga, it's of course Bale, Ronaldo, Benzema.
Yep.
Of course,
the
those
BBC.
three. The BBC, incredible.
Be careful when you search that trio up.
It's incredible when you think a Liga had the BBC, MSN going right against each other. The best, two of the best front threes. Definitely, they were the 2 best front threes in world football at that point. It was absolutely incredible to see. And when you look at it now, Barcelona and Real Madrid, the El Clasico is not the same anymore just because you don't have those 2 threes going at each other. Like I was watching the El Clasico. Every single game there was El Clasico. I was watching it in that period.
Without
now, I haven't been watching it. Well, recent year I haven't watched an El Clasico, which is mainly down to the players available. Obviously, if it was available now, I'd watch it all day long because we haven't had enough football. But over the recent year or two, I haven't watched an El Clasico, but just because of the front threes.
No Neymar, no Ronaldo.
Haven't been there.
It's just not the same.
Yeah. So just look at the individual stats from Ronaldo, Bale, and Benzema over that period. It's very similar to Messi, Messi, Suarez, and Neymar, although a little bit less. Like Benzema, probably the unsung hero of that front three from 2013, 2014, 24 goals. The next season, 22 goals. The next season, 28 goals. The next season, 19 goals. You look at Ronaldo, 2013, 2014. The first season, an incredible, 2013-14, 51 goals. The next season, 61 goals. The season after, 51 goals, 42 goals.
Yep.
And then if you look at Bale, a bit different because of his injury record, 22 goals in 13-14.
Yep.
14, 15, 17 goals, 15, 16, 19 goals. Although, difference with Bale, the goals might not be as many as Ronaldo and Benzema. Although
but they're
it's
vital goals, aren't they?
Still significant amounts, so 22, 17, 19. I'm talking good numbers. But the goals he got goals in 2 Champions League finals, when winning goals really as well. And he scored in the Copa del Rey final, got the winning solo goal, an incredible goal. So his goals were important.
Yeah.
And I think whilst we're talking about this front three, the difference between, they might not have as many goals and many assists as MSN, but what they do have is more trophies, and the big trophies. They have 4 Champions Leagues between them. 2013-14 Copa del Rey, UEFA Super Cup ×3, 4 FIFA Club World Cups, the 2016-2017 La Liga, the 2017-2018 Spanish Super Cup. Yep. So that's an incredible trophy haul.
Well, I mean, going back to your point, that you say they haven't had as many goals, in the amount of time that MSN did. In the 5 seasons that they did play together, Finch, they scored 442 goals between them, just between them 3. That is an extortionate amount, and I do believe, obviously, that MSN would probably have overtaken that had they have had that extra couple of seasons.
Per season is a little bit more.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't have even needed the extra season. They probably would have done it in the 4th season. But that is still, to score 442 goals in 5 seasons, it's an absurd stat. It's an absolutely absurd stat.
I guess the difference there being most of the goals did come from Ronaldo each season.
Yeah.
Like, obviously Benzema got a fair amount. Bale still chipped in with a fair few, the odd 20. But Ronaldo was getting 50, 60 every season. So he got a lion's share, whereas the MSN, it was very, though Messi usually got the most, it was very close between the 3.
Yeah, that's it.
I guess, But I guess the difference here being as well, although the early years, they were proper front 3, as the years went on, Bale was sort of out the team a bit more, he was injured a bit more, so it just became a front 2, basically, with Ronaldo and Benzema. So later years, I wouldn't say they were a front 3. I don't know about you.
Yeah, in the later years, it did mainly just be sort of Benzema, Ronaldo. I think I saw one headline when we were doing this research that Bale, Ronaldo, and Benzema start together for the first time in like 200 something days.
God.
It's Bale was very injury struck, unfortunately. Who knows? That goal tally might have even gone even higher. I'm sure it would have, but you cannot fault like what any of these guys done as a trio. They were formidable. They had some fantastic results, and they won. Like you said, they won a lot of trophies together: La Liga, Copa del Rey, 3 Club World Cups. But most importantly, they done something that MSN couldn't do. They won multiple Champions Leagues. They didn't just win 2, didn't just win 3. They won 4 Champions Leagues in 5 seasons.
That is an incredible feat. And I guess the thing which gets me about this front 3 is Ronaldo gets a lot of the acclaim. Benzema's very underappreciated, I think, but Bale especially, he gets a lot of unjust stick, Whereas people just talk about his injuries, talk about he hasn't been good enough the last few seasons. We still can't with the goods in terms of the goals in the most important moments. Like that first Champions League final he was in, where he headed in the most important goal, which won him the final against Madrid. The next Champions League final against, I think the third Champions League final, it's Liverpool. He scored one of the best Champions League goal probably we've ever seen, potentially. An overhead
kick. And it was the winner as well.
That was the winner. And then he scored another goal as well. He scored 2 goals in that final. So he comes up with the goods in the key moments in the Champions League. So I think Bale gets a lot of unjust stick. And he came as a sub in that game as well and got those 2 goals.
Yeah. That's exactly it. He's the Madrid fans are very, very harsh on Bale. Bale has had some questionable sort of aspects of his attitude, but you cannot take away his footballing ability and what he's done for Real Madrid as a club. His stats for Real Madrid are absolutely astonishing. Really, really helped them, not be taken over by Barcelona's dominance, which I'm sure they would have done without Bale.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because they need Bale was that extra edge at the beginning.
He was
They obviously
had
Ronaldo,
that key part.
they had Benzema, and they needed someone else really. Just when Barca got Neymar, that seemed like an incredible front three. Because I think Neymar came before Suarez, didn't he? So was it season before Suarez? Yeah, I think he did.
It was it was season before Suarez.
Yeah, and they obviously had an incredible team at that point, but it seemed like Madrid needed to sign someone to compete with Barca with Neymar. So they signed Bale. So that summer was Bale and Neymar. And they were compared to each other the whole period. And they thought Bale and Neymar would be the next Ronaldo and Messi. They'd go on and win the Ballon d'Or, which it did seem like for a while. And probably Neymar, if it either stays fit, he might win the Ballon d'Or. Bale maybe less so, unless his injuries really do go away and he gets to move away. But I think Bale did provide the edge for the first 2 seasons. He was incredible. His pace was incredible. He scored some incredible goals. His heading was absolutely unbelievable in terms of the headed goals. He did score goals at crucial moments. So I think, and you look at the players who've come and gone Madrid in their season. You had Yers or you had Di Maria. They didn't last. Bale was still there. And he's there for a reason.
Exactly.
But James was signed the season after, or 2 seasons after Bale. He was shipped off.
Yeah, so probably just a little less money as well. James Rodriguez's price tag probably isn't talked about as much for some reason. I don't know what. But you look at what Bale's done for say an extra 20 million compared to what James Rodriguez has done at his time in Madrid. Does he really?
That's a really good point.
The stick he gets.
That is a really good point because Bale's done a lot more, especially in the crucial moments compared to James, and James doesn't get anywhere near the stick. Bale.
No, they've both been injured. They've probably both had their attitude problems. James Rodriguez has gone on loan. Bale has stuck with Madrid. He probably tried and requested, but he still stayed there. He still stayed at Madrid. He tried to leave, and Zidane, Madrid as a club, Zidane, the manager, they turned down because they know how important he is to that setup. Bale will go down as one of the key players in Real Madrid's history, I believe.
Yeah, so I think I completely agree. When years come by, I think there'll be different opinions, especially this era. I think I look at this era as one of the best in Real Madrid's history, and Bale being a key reason of that. So we've got two absolutely incredible front threes at the moment. They're going to be really hard to top those 3. They might be there at the end. We'll be discussing those 2 maybe in terms of which is the best front 3. Because we've got one front 3 which is probably the best front 3 in terms of goals and assists, and we've got the other which is the best in terms of trophies.
Yep. It could be an El Clasico final, Finch. You never know.
I think it might be.
I think it might be as well. But it's still worth mentioning our other trios because we did spend a lot of time going into this research, so I want it to be worth it. So my next front 3, I've gone for Mane, Firmino, and Salah. This front 3 has just taken English football by storm. Week in, week out. Best front 3
in the world at the moment.
Oh, at the minute, yeah, without a doubt. I can't even think of any front 3 at the minute that even rivals this front 3. Who is there that even rivals this front 3 at the minute? Griezmann, Suarez, Messi. It's just not the same, is it? I mean, Suarez is getting on. Griezmann's not the same player he was at Atletico Madrid. And Messi is just Messi, obviously world class, best ever, but it's just not the same. Juventus, Ronaldo, Dybala, Higuain. I mean, it doesn't come close to this setup,
Yeah, that Bayern, Gnabry, Lewandowski came in, it's still not the same.
It's still not got that factor. I mean, you've got at Man City, an all-fit Man City. You've got Bernardo Silva, Aguero, Sane, Sterling, yeah.
Yes, it'd probably be too bad. It's more like Sterling, Sane, Aguero is the actual front 3, isn't it? And then you have Bernardo Silva behind them. Sterling's more the main starter, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah. So it's there's not really too many, if only, honestly, only one, and that's Man City to really.
Maybe PSG.
Yeah, perhaps PSG actually. Cavani, Icardi, Neymar, Mbappe.
Mbappe.
That's a quality front three. But I mean, when you talk about best, this really is the best at the minute, Finch. This really is the best. I mean, week in, week out, you just know one of these guys are getting on the score sheet. They are formidable. They are deadly. They score most of the goals for Liverpool, of course. Since they formed in 2017, they've scored 209 goals in 3 seasons. And that is no easy feat when it comes to English football. I know the numbers obviously more exaggerated in La Liga, Ligue 1, Bundesliga, just because the standard of football isn't what it is in England. You know, playing Premier League week in, week out, it takes its toll on you. Something that I'm not sure a lot of these, you know, clubs could do in other leagues. But Mane, Firmino, and Salah, they seem to do it week in, week out. And it's honestly, as a Chelsea fan, it is so horrible to watch. But I mean, for a neutral, I'm sure it's some of the best. And obviously for a Liverpool fan, it's one of the greatest time periods at the minute, because since this front three has formed, they have just become such a force to be reckoned with, not just in the Premier League, but also in European football, Finch. Back-to-back Champions League finals. Unlucky not to win the 2018 final. But
Salah getting injured.
Salah getting injured, of course. Poor goalkeeping errors. But obviously, one of our trios that we spoke about before, they just seem to rule over it. But then that seems to make them even more hungrier for the season after. And, you know, I know that they didn't really feature a lot in that comeback against Barcelona. I'm sure the spirit was still there. And then, you know, in the final, just Salah getting the early goal, Origi finishing off, and they finally got their hands on a European trophy between them. And it just seems like it's a matter of time before really they get their hands on the Premier League too.
I think the difference being with this front three to the other two, like the other two have had their great attributes, great stats, great trophy hauls. The difference is that the other front threes, Ronaldo, Benzema, Bale, Messi, Neymar, Suarez, were great individual superstars, whereas this front three are what they are because of how they work together as a trio, their link-up plays, their compliments to each other's games. They're not just... They're become it almost, but they didn't start off as individual superstars. They started off as a front three who can work well together, and that's made them to almost superstardom. And that is a difference there in terms of their combination. Their link-up play is absolutely unbelievable. And it's probably unseen in terms of how they play together. In terms of the Premier League as well, like you said, it's so much harder to score the amount of goals that Ronaldo and Messi regularly get in the Premier League, and that's why Ronaldo obviously didn't get as many goals when he was in England compared to when he went to Spain, because there was a fact that the Premier League is overall a better standard compared to any other league in world football, and the defending especially. And for this front three to get the stats they've been getting in terms of the goals, like Salah in the first season of this front three, 2017-2018, getting 44 goals in all competitions, breaking that Premier League record of 31 goals, which has stood for over 25 years. It's absolutely an incredible feat. He probably doesn't get enough recognition for that feat, breaking that record. The next year, he got 27 goals. This season, he's got 20 goals. Firmino, people often don't think he scores many goals. That first season, 17-18, he got 27 in all competitions, then 16 in all competitions, and now this season, 11 in all competitions. And Mane, probably the player who's improved the most over that period and now has become maybe the best player of that front three in terms of current form. The first season, 17-18, 20 goals. The next season, 26 goals. This season, 18 goals. And obviously, last season, both Mane and Salah were tied in terms of the Golden Boot in the Premier League, and both 22 goals. And I don't think, I don't know if maybe it's a thing against Liverpool, but I don't think this, as individual players, obviously as a front three, they get huge plaudits. As individual players, I don't think they get enough plaudits, especially Mane and Salah. Salah's got the Golden Boot 2 years in a row, and this is at a time when you have Aguero, you have some like the likes of Aguero, the likes of Kane, the likes of Aubameyang, the likes of Lacazette, some amazing strikers in the league, and yet they're coming out top in terms of the scoring statistics.
Yeah.
That does say something, and just the amount of goals they've been getting, it is
That's
absolutely
that is the
incredible.
thing, Finch. That is the thing, Finch. You know, they score all these goals, and goals win games. At the end of the day, you score the goals, you score more than the opponent, then you know you've won the game. And the thing, they've only had 2 losses in the last 2 seasons in the Premier League. Just
Hmm.
just two, and to be so close. You know, any other season before last, they would have won the Premier League with the points total. But you know, City being the way they were just rampant. Got more wins, obviously, than Liverpool. Liverpool got quite a few draws towards the end. But the fact that Liverpool didn't let that hinder them and just become even better the season after just shows what a manager Jurgen Klopp is and how he's changed and transformed this Liverpool side into, you know, going from Europa League runs to these amazing Champions League runs, and going from top 4 runs to, or even top 6 runs, really, going to Premier League champion.
I do think as well, because this front three at the moment are probably in their peak years. I think they'll be at least together for another season. They'll win Premier League this year, potentially next year. I reckon they'll win at least something. So I reckon their trophy haul will start getting bigger and bigger, because obviously at the moment they've got the Champions League, they've got the FIFA Club World Cup, they've got UEFA Super Cup. So it's 3 large trophies, and they will get the Premier League this seasons at some point. So it's four large trophies they'll have in their pocket, which is no mean feat considering how hard it is to get the Champions League, and especially being an English side, I think it's even harder to get the Champions League now because of the amount of games and how hard the English League is alone. And for them to, they start nearly every game. It's absolutely incredible what they've done as a front three. And this is a big shout, but I think out of all the front threes we mentioned, obviously, like I said before, all superstars. I think this front three work better together than any of them, just because their link-up play. I think their link-up play at this front three is the best out of any front three we've talked about.
I completely agree with that. It's not really more of an individuality sort of contest, you know, where with like Benzema, Ronaldo, and Bale, and even really likes of MSN was. It's I feel like you take one of these pieces out, you know, it doesn't really work as well as it would do, obviously, if you have Messi and Suarez together. It still works wonders. Ronaldo and Bale, Ronaldo and Benzema, Bale, it still works wonders. But if you take away, say, a Mane from this trio, I don't think Liverpool would be anywhere near as where they have been. You know, you can take any one of these players out, and I don't think it would. I think the team would crumble.
Yeah, because the difference with being compared to the other front threes as well, they almost all came within a season of each other to Liverpool, and they all sort of grew together as Liverpool grew as club under Jurgen Klopp. Whereas sort of the other front threes, and most front threes in the football, come at different points, so didn't grow together. The team was already established in some sort of manner. Whereas the difference being that those 3 grew together. I do think definitely they're worth a really good shout in this argument. And I think whilst we're on the top of the Premier League, we've got to mention, probably in my opinion, the greatest front three the Premier League has seen. And that is Wayne Rooney, Tevez and Ronaldo.
Fantastic shout, that Finch. Absolutely fantastic shout.
Just because they're the only front three to have won the treble for an English team. But when we say treble, me and Ryan, we mean the Premier League, the Champions League, the FA Cup. We don't mean any other type of treble. We're not interested in them.
No, no Community Shield, nothing like that.
No Community Shield. So we're talking, in their years together, they only had 2, believe it or not, people think they had a longer reign. They only actually had 2 seasons together.
Yeah.
But in those 2 seasons.
When I was doing my research, I thought they had at least 3 seasons together, but no, just 2.
2 seasons. In those 2 seasons, they won 2 Premier Leagues. They won the Champions League. They won the FIFA Club World Cup, the Community Shield, the League Cup. They won everything you could, except from the FA Cup. Actually, when I said treble, I do mean I count the League Cup and FA Cup basically the same. So the main things are having a Premier League and Champions League. That's what we talk about, the treble. Those 2 things, a proper treble. Yeah, at least you have those 2. The other cup, it can be a League Cup or FA Cup. Like I said, they want everything, absolutely everything. The crazy thing about this front three as well, sort of like for me, it's more of a striker, but sort of like Firmino, Mane, and Salah. None of them are true strikers or true wingers, and they just
No,
work
that's what I mean. Yeah,
so well in that
yeah,
harmony, which is absolutely incredible. I didn't think we've seen a better front three on the break. I think they're the best front three I've seen on the break in terms of their attacking, how quick they were from the
yeah,
defensive unit to goal. Like, and they all chipped in with a fair amount of goals. Rooney 2007, 2008, 18 goals. Then the following season, 20 goals, and he played out on the wing most of that time. Tevez 19 goals in 2007, 2008, 2008, 2009, 15. Ronaldo, crazy stats, 42 goals 2007, 2008. Then 26
yeah,
goals. But it was their link-up play and how they all chipped in. Like just in 2007, 2008, they got 79 goals between them, and a lot of those goals were assisted by another person. I remember one specific goal which I thought was just going wow, because Rooney Ronaldo. I don't think Tevez was in this goal. It was Rooney Ronaldo just as a duo. A goal against Bolton where
that's
I think maybe Carrick or Ronaldo, or I can't remember which player. Someone fed it into Rooney. He spun off and then played it to Ronaldo. Ronaldo ran with
yep,
the ball, played it back to Rooney when he was in like the final third. And Rooney just had a nice little dink finish over Jaskalainen. It was absolutely incredible goal. And when we talk about front threes, I think almost in this front three you have a duo where Rooney and Ronaldo are absolutely incredible.
yeah. That is a fantastic trio to add to this already fantastic array of trios, Finch. You know, this 2 seasons these guys had together, and they scored 140 goals between them. As you said before, you know, assisting one another as well. These guys were relentless. I was another one like Firmino, Salah and Mane, week in, week out. You know, you knew one of these guys would get on the score sheet. And Ronaldo, obviously, having his best season in the Premier League in that 2007-2008, it was usually him. It wasn't just Premier League that they really formed together. It was also the Champions League. This the 2008 run was so pivotal. You know, it would never have happened without this front three. I remember the quarterfinals. It was against Lyon. I say the quarter. I'm sorry. The first knockout stage against Lyon.
Last 16.
Tevez, that's it. The last 16. But the first knockout stage. Tevez scoring in the last sort of few minutes to equalise, and then the second leg after that, Ronaldo, scores in a 1-0 win to see him onto the quarterfinals, where it was Ronaldo and Rooney. Semi-finals, it wasn't any of them actually scored. It was Paul Scholes who scored an absolute banger.
Wonderful goal, peak of the goal.
Absolute, yeah, fantastic. But we then move on to the final, where guess who? Cristiano Ronaldo pops up, scores the opener, and they go on to win. They go on to win the final on penalties.
And I do think in that final as well, I was watching the highlights the other day, and it showed how good of a front three they were. Tevez should have had a hat-trick in the front three from Rooney crosses. Rooney had an outstanding game in terms of crossing the ball. From the crosses he had, and how the front three were working with one another. There was one move where they all joined in with one another, and the ball came to Tevez in the end, and he missed the goal. I don't know how he didn't get a hat-trick, but that final just showed how good of a front three they were. And it was just a pity they didn't continue and didn't play together the next season, because obviously Tevez there was obviously some issue with his third party ownership. I think that may have declined the opportunity, probably down to how much the third party owners were trying to get out of United. And obviously United had Berbatov then. I think they signed Berbatov at the end of the 2008 season. They probably didn't want to pay a large sum for Tevez from third party owners. They didn't even probably know the legality of it all. So he went to Man City for a massive fee. Probably there was a lot going on in the background. I'm sure if all was sailing, Man United would have signed him, but there must have been a reason why they didn't sign him.
Yeah, I completely agree, Finch. I completely agree. It was they was a fantastic front three, and I am so happy they did disband like they did, because United weren't really the same team really ever again after Ronaldo, Tevez appeared, leaving Wayne Rooney really to pick up the tracks and do it all himself until
he had to do it, didn't he?
For Van Persie joined.
For about 4 years, it was Rooney alone, basically. Well, not alone. He obviously had Berbatov. He obviously had Javier Hernandez. Welbeck, you had
Yeah.
Tony Valencia, some of these players, but nowhere near the standard of Tevez or Ronaldo. So Rooney really
No.
had to. He did for a few of the seasons. To be fair, he picked up his goal tally a fair bit and became the main man. But it was all on him. It probably took it out of him quite a bit, considering previous period he had like Van Nistelrooy, then you had Tevez, Ronaldo, you had some, then obviously in later period he had Van Persie, which he's probably thankful for.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It wasn't the same, like you said. It was never the same.
No, it was never the same, and it shows, how much United really relied on them, on that trio. Obviously, Sir Alex Ferguson being the great manager he is, he still went on. United still won titles after that, but they didn't score as many goals in the seasons after that.
And it shows how good this treble is. I don't think we'll see for a long time a team who wins the Premier League also win the Champions League. I think to get those two competitions in one season is an incredible feat. And Liverpool became very close last year, and that showed how good their front three was, but not close enough in terms of winning both competitions. It shows how good they were. And obviously, Liverpool didn't win a League Cup or FA Cup last year, so they wouldn't have won the treble as United did in that famous year. But I think they're going to be remembered for years and years, that front three. And they probably don't get enough credit either, because at the time, front threes weren't talked about as much as they are now. They weren't as common.
No.
Whereas now, it's pretty commonplace for top teams to have a front three.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've really switched up the formations they play. Yeah, like it's usually a 4-2-3-1 sort of setup, or a 4-3-3, isn't it? Really, the two formations in football today. No one ever plays that 4-4-2 no more.
Yeah, because back then you always used to have at least one proper striker. Whereas the crazy thing with Rooney, Ronaldo, Tevez, none of them really played as a true striker or true winger.
They could play either. Yeah, they swapped like every game, and obviously Ronaldo was mainly was a winger, but if they needed him to play striker for whatever reason, he could do it.
Yeah, and it was they had the perfect combination. Like Tevez, obviously hounded all the players. So did Rooney. Rooney hounded players, and Ronaldo's work ethic was crazy back then. It was a lot. Probably he was more suited to a front three back then, in my opinion, than he is now, because of his work ethic. And you need that work ethic in a front three. Whereas now, obviously, he's just suited to being that striker, and that's that scoring striker. Back then, he was a proper, almost not winger, but sort of front three man, where he'd run about in different positions, interplay with different positions, run with the ball, score plenty of goals running with the ball. Now he's just more of an out-and-out striker, isn't
he? Oh yeah, that's exactly it.
I think on my list that they are those two, Mane, Salah, Firmino, and Ronaldo, Tevez, Rooney. They're the best front threes I've seen in English football, and that's also to do with some of the great club sides not having front threes.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's exactly it, Finch. Obviously, an honourable mention, maybe a bit biased here, but you got Robin, Duff, and Drogba from 2004 to 2006, where Chelsea won back-to-back league titles. I think they're an honourable mention without a doubt, but when I think of Chelsea from them years, I don't really think of them as a front three. I think of them more of a team. They were, every single person in that team played a part in winning them back-to-back titles, getting Champions League semi-finals, etc. Because we did score a lot of goals as a team, rather than it was the front three. Lampard got a lot of goals, but Johnson got a lot of goals. Players who weren't in that front three setup. Obviously, Drogba, Robin, Duff, they had their hand a lot of goals. They scored a lot of goals also. But I wouldn't class them on the same sort of level as, Rooney, Ronaldo, Tevez, or Salah, Mane, Firmino, just because I feel like Chelsea back then were more of a team rather than these trios who sort of made up the team and done everything up top.
Yeah, the team wasn't focused on the front three, was it?
No, it was just it wasn't really built around anyone. It was just a great team in every single position.
It wasn't always a front three, was it? They mixed up how the team worked. It didn't seem like a proper front three as we see now. It didn't feel like a proper front three.
No, definitely not. But they swap players around a lot. Like I say, you had Johnson playing up top some games. You had Duff. You had Joe Cole coming off the bench. He started some games. It was it was a great squad with a lot of great players, but I still feel like obviously deserve an honorable mention. Maybe my bias coming out a little bit there, but I love mentioning the 04 to 06 years of Chelsea.
You know a bit of Chelsea, don't you? Yeah, Chelsea's greatest era potentially. But yeah, I do think it was worth mentioning. It's just not the same level as the other front three. And I think the only other front three I can think from recent Premier League history who's worth a mention is Sturridge, Suarez, and Sterling. That season, their goal scoring was absolutely unbelievable. In terms of Suarez, especially, he was the main man, and his feats were, in terms of goal scoring, in Premier League, were only beaten by Salah. Absolutely incredible feat in terms of his goal scoring. Sturridge got a significant amount of goals. Sterling was even a great goal getter. Well, he got a fair amount of goals for his age at that point. But obviously, they didn't win anything. And I think if they had a better defence, they probably would have won something and would have got more of a solid mention. But I think it's more of a soft mention. They're worth mention just because the amount of goals they got and how good they were, but nothing more than that.
No, I completely agree, Finch. I don't really have. Well, actually, I do. I have one more. I have another honourable mention. I've got Dortmund 2012-13, but I'm not too sure if I'm allowed this just because of one player. He didn't really play on the wing. He mainly played just behind the striker.
Oh, a bit naughty this.
Yeah,
naughty.
Yeah, a bit a little naughty. That's why they're not one of my main picks. It is Royce, Lewandowski, and Shinji Kagawa.
I like it.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice little pick.
But if you go with Lem, then you bring in so many other front threes which you probably can't do. You bring the likes like Kaká and Shevchenko.
Exactly. Exactly.
Which you got to leave them out, and that's another discussion. Isn't it?
I do apologise for that. Just forget I said everything. I do apologise.
But if you're going to mention German football, the one trio I think is worth mentioning before Lewandowski came to Bayern. Yeah. Bayern won everything with the front three of Robben, Ribéry, and Mandzukic between 2012 to 2014. 2 Bundesligas, the Champions League, their equivalent the FA Cup, the DFB Pokal, their Super Cup. They won it all, and so they did the double twice. No, but they got a treble and a double in 2 seasons. So absolutely incredible feat for that side. And Mario Mandzukic was a powerhouse and supported Ribéry and Robben on either wing, and those 2 as wingers were absolutely incredible. They were proper out-and-out wingers. I can't think of a side in the last 20 years who had as good out-and-out wingers. They terrified defences with that wing play. I remember one game. It always seems to be great games, Bayern Barca, and Bayern absolutely terrorised Barca with Ribéry and Robben at the top of their game.
Yeah, I think I remember that. Didn't that one finish like 7-0 on aggregate?
Yeah, something ridiculous. It was unheard of against Barcelona in that era.
They beat them like 4-0 at the Nou Camp or something. I remember it was something like that. They beat them absolutely. They absolutely trounced them.
It was one proper season they were together really, where everything happened, and that was 2012-2013. That was where they won the treble, and they were so good together. The next season they were still a trio and still played well together, but I don't think their influence was as much under Guardiola because he didn't really play them as a proper treble all the time, or proper trio all the time. But the first season they were absolutely unbelievable, and I didn't really like Bayern at the time, but I admired how good that front three was.
Yeah. Oh, and they come up trumps at the exact right moments. 2 of them people that you've just said, Mandzukic, Robben, both goal scorers in the 2-1 victory over Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League final. They were vital in that treble. Ribéry, we were discussing the other week about how important Ribéry was to Bayern Munich, about how he was unlucky not to win the 2013 Ballon d'Or for his contributions to that treble. Over like 40 goal contributions that year.
Absolutely incredible.
Insane stats, Finch.
And those players, they worked so well together. It was also how Robben. I don't think we'll see a winger like Robben again in terms of how good he was at one move. You knew what he was going to do, cut inside from one shot. You couldn't do anything about it. You could not do anything. And he was absolutely incredible. He scored some amazing goals. I remember a Ribéry corner against Man United, and Robben hit it on the volley in the bottom corner. Absolutely incredible goal. And they always came up with the crucial goals at the crucial times that side and deserved to win the Champions League. And I think that was actually their peak, Bayern Munich, in recent history. Bayern Munich's peak before Guardiola got there. And I think Guardiola was very good when he got there, but the side actually had their peak just before then.
Yeah, that is a fantastic shout, Finch. You know, we've already named 2 teams who have won this elusive treble. I'm going to name another. It's the Barcelona team from 2008, 2009. It is Henry, Samuel Eto'o, and Messi that makes up this front 3. You know, they started off in 2007, but I want to mainly focus on the 2008, 2009 season, just because Barcelona didn't really do a lot in 2007, 2008. They didn't win. I don't actually think they won anything that year. They come 3rd in La Liga. They didn't win the Copa del Rey. They got to the semi-finals of the Champions League, as discussed there. They were unlucky. They got knocked out by the eventual winners, Man United. But just like Liverpool's demise in 2008, you know, the 2008 final, it made them hungrier to come back for more. And that's exactly what happened to Barcelona. They were a force to be reckoned with. They were 100% the best team on the planet in 2008, 2009, Finch. You know, this front 3 scored over 100 goals in that one season. You know, and they won that elusive treble that not a lot of sides can do, and they played some fantastic football along the way.
They were the first Spanish side to win a proper treble, a treble involving Champions League and Liga. That is a mean feat. And considering the sides which since have won that, they were the first side to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. And it's crazy when Barcelona, they seem to favour 4-3-3 in recent times, because it seems within the list of great front 3s, a lot of them come from Barcelona because of that. But that front 3 of Eto'o, Messi, and Henry was absolutely unbelievable for that season you talked about, the second season. And the goals they got were absolutely incredible. And getting that treble, unreal. And I think they got Henry just at the right point, just before he was about to decline, just to secure. He gave him that little bit of edge, like we talked about before, about Bale giving Madrid the edge. Henry gave Barca the edge just to get over the line in terms of winning a treble. And it was just sad that Eto's departure and to Inter Milan, when they got the swap deal with Ibra, and Henry's decline meant the trio only shone for one season. But what a season that was!
Oh mate, a season that will go down in history as being like one of the greatest ever Barcelona teams. You know, you talk about teams like the Harlem Globetrotters, the LA Lakers, you know, New York Red Sox. This team will go down in history as one of the greatest of all time. 100%. Under Pep Guardiola, one of the greatest managers of all time. And it all comes down to this front 3 banging in them goals. You know, like I said to you before, goals win games. You score goals, you will win games. And you know, this team loved this front 3 loved the goals. Absolutely loved them.
Yeah. So I was talking about how it was sad that they only lasted for one season, really properly together in terms of winning everything. Obviously the season before, but it seems the only one proper season where they won everything and played really well together. I'm sure Barcelona fans wouldn't have lost too much love, because a year or two later they had another great front 3 in Pedro, Messi, and Villa, who also won a couple of La Ligas, the Champions League, Super Copa.
That's what I mean. They seem to have a bit of resurgence every other year. You get a fantastic trio that comes about. You know, you have Henry, Eto'o, Messi. A year without one, and you get Villa, Pedro, Messi, and you get, you know, a year without one, and then you get MSN. It's, you know, unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable finish.
But I think the difference being with MSN is, I think if they kept hold of Neymar, the sad thing is if they kept hold of Neymar, that front 3 could have kept on going for at least two or three more seasons. Whereas with Eto'o, Henry, and Messi, that was always going to come to an end a year or two later, because Henry was the latter part of his career. Eto'o was probably going to move anyway because they wanted Ibra, but it was mainly because Henry was in the latter part of his career. Similar with Villa, Pedro, and Messi. That front 3 was ended mainly because Villa broke his leg, or he had some big injury back in 2011.
I think he did break his leg. I think he did break his leg.
So he had a big injury, so that's the reason that front 3 ended. But it's not really, you can't be that sore about those 2 front 3s ending. It was just great to see them. Whereas MSN, I'm a bit sore it ended, because it shouldn't have ended really. Should have kept on going.
It should have, Finch, but you have to let football go sometimes. Money talks.
But I think that front three is not as talked about as much, just because Pedro probably isn't seeing the same caliber as player as Eto'o or Henry or Suarez or Neymar. So Messi, Pedro, and Villa isn't talked about as much. But when you think about it, that was an incredible front three. And in those 3 years, they did win the Liga twice. They did win the Champions League, and it was absolutely unbelievable. It's probably Barcelona's best
scored a lot
football
of goals as well. Yeah, I completely agree. You had a Iniesta, prime Iniesta. You had a fantastic Xavi, and you had a absolute brilliant Sergio Busquets.
Yeah, you had Messi almost as a false nine in that system. Villa, the star striker, who almost peeled back sometimes to a left wing and absolutely devastating with his finishing. Pedro, great on the ball, also was a workhorse, had composure with his finishing, so that he got a fair amount of goals. Also, I remember, I think Villa and Pedro scored in that Champions League final against Man United, if I remember right.
And Messi scored.
And Messi, they all scored, yeah.
Yeah, they all scored in the Champions League final.
And it did show how important Villa was to that front three when he got injured. Because without Villa, Barcelona didn't win the Liga, they didn't win the Champions League.
Nope.
And the following season, when he came back, they did regain that Champions League and got an incredible 100-point win, 100-point title win. And then obviously Villa went to. They probably should have kept Villa because when he went to Atletico, he won the title with them.
Yeah, just a fantastic player, Finch, a legend of the game. Villa.
And I think whilst we're talking about Barcelona front threes, the front three which made me love football was when Messi was upcoming, that great talent. It was Messi, Eto'o, Ronaldinho, and it was mainly 2006, 2007 that trio were properly playing week in, week out together. Although they were together between 2004 to 2007, you mainly had Eto'o, Ronaldinho, and I think Gulli, his name was the winger.
Oh, the French guy.
Yeah, a French wing. I think went to Roma after Barcelona, but that was the main front three. And Messi would replace Gulli every now and again, so they would play fairly often between 2004 and 2006, but it was mainly 2006, 2007 where they were a proper front three. And what a front three they were! Because Ronaldinho, his game made me fall in love with a beautiful game. How he got round opponents, his just genius every single moment. Every time he touched the ball was magic. And 2005, 2006, Messi did actually play a lot in that year, and they were forming a front three trio partnership as they won the Champions League. And they beat some big sides in that Champions League. They beat Arsenal in the final. Great game. Eto'o scoring a couple of great goals in those years as well. They won 2 La Ligas. And some feats are not repeated. And one of these feats was when Ronaldinho scored those 2 goals in those years at the Bernabeu, and the Bernabeu stood up and gave him a standing ovation. That never happens, and that shows how good he was.
No, never ever. And while you're listing great accomplishments, Finch, they did beat Mourinho's Chelsea. That was, and that's no easy feat either.
Potentially the greatest Chelsea ever.
Oh, exactly, yeah. And Ronaldinho scoring one of his most iconic goals ever. I'm sure you remember it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it is iconic because no other person has repeated that type of goal. A little shimmy, and then almost looks like a toe punch. Check, didn't even see it coming.
Bamboozled every single person.
And people forget how that's probably Eto's best period of his. Obviously, had a great period at Inter, but his greatest period of his career. I think how lethal he was and how good he was. Probably one of the best finishers we've seen in the game.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's why he will go down as. In my opinion, as much as I love Didier Drogba, I think he will go down as the greatest African player.
Yeah, I completely agree. When we were growing up, every year, Eto'o got the greatest African player. He won obviously African Cup with Cameroon, I'm pretty sure, and he was the superstar from Africa. And I do think Messi was up and coming at that point, and he learned a lot obviously from Ronaldinho and Eto'o, particularly Ronaldinho. I do think if Messi was probably a little bit older, they could have been the best front three of all time. Just because Messi hadn't reached his peak at that point, it probably wasn't as good a front three. But Messi obviously provided that youthfulness to the trio.
That's exactly it.
And it's probably Ronaldinho. It seemed like Ronaldinho left because to help Messi become the great player he is. Help him progress because at that point, although they were a trio, there was one superstar really, Ronaldinho. He was the superstar of the team, whereas he wanted Messi to become that superstar. And you
Messi was
let him do
like,
it.
yeah, Messi was like the Pedro of Messi and David Villa.
Yeah, and he needed. I think Ronaldinho stayed. It might have halted Messi's progress because everything would have gone through Ronaldinho. Because obviously you had, when we talk about all these great front three, there is with Barcelona, Messi always stood out a little bit more, and everything went through Messi. Whereas at that point, everything went through Ronaldinho. So what an unselfish act to move clubs, I think.
Yeah, mate, that is a fantastic shout for True. I must admit, Finch.
They're the trio which made me love football.
Yeah, mate, that is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Do you have any more trios that you want to give an honorable mention, shout out to?
I'm trioed out. I don't know about you.
Mate, I've done all mine. Are we ready to progress to the final? And who is gonna make the final? I mean, at the start, I thought we already had the final set, but now we've heard these other trios. I'm not too sure anymore. Should we debate it out?
I know. I think we should. Well, obviously, the main two candidates, MSN, BBC. I think they've got to be there in the final discussion.
I honestly, I agree. And I mean, I know what I just said about how we're not too sure about who was going to be in the final, but it's so tough when you have this amount of goals, this amount of trophies, and the style of football they play. It's just fantastic to see. I mean, you got a lot of love for Ronaldo, Rooney, and Tevez.
I think they should be in there as well. I think they should be in that discussion just because they won a treble with an English team. I don't know what other people feel. That maybe it's just my perspective, but I think it's harder to win the Champions League and the league domestic league title as being an English team, just because how good the English league is.
Yeah, we could give him a shout. I assume, I guess in the final, yeah, I guess we can.
And they did obviously beat that great Barcelona side and great Chelsea side. So it is tough. And I do think Messi, if you're going on one, it depends if we're going over a period or if we're looking at one season for a front three. Because if you're looking at one season for a front three, you might choose Firmino, Salah, and Mane from last year. Yeah. Just because how good they were. They would have won a league any year. You could have chosen Messi. My opinion, if I was going to choose a front three from one season, I'd go with Messi on Rieto for that great season, 2008, 2009, where they won everything.
How I think we should choose this is not based on the one season, which is why I wouldn't have included Henry, Eto, Messi in the conversation, as they were one of the greatest Barcelona teams ever. I think we should go on, how they play together over the majority of the season, more than one, even more than two.
Talking about periods, yeah.
Yeah, the legacy they're left behind, the trophies that they've won, the goals they've scored, which is why for me, because they spent 3 seasons together, and also because they spent 5 seasons together, I think it's between MSN and BBC.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. I think if you're looking at over a period, it's got to be between those two. And it's probably the reason they probably had 2 great front threes is because Barcelona and Real Madrid are they're always rivaling each other. And if one team has a great front three, the other team have got to get that great front three. And that's probably why they both had amazing trios at that point. And I do agree that them two are probably the two which stand out if we're looking at a period. And they're both tarnished in different ways because Messi, Suarez and Neymar obviously scored an amazing amount of goals, got some good trophies, not as many great trophies, not as many trophies as BBC, but still great trophies. And the thing which tarnishes them is how Neymar left, I think. Whereas the thing which tarnishes Bale, Ronaldo and Benzema is more about how Bale sort of went at the spotlight as the years went on and probably no fault of his own.
Picked up the injuries, yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't become a front three as the years went on. It was more of a duo.
Yeah,
so I think they both have the strengths and the weaknesses, and they're both tarnished in different ways. I think there was two main seasons where Bale, Ronaldo, and Benzema were proper front three. Whereas there's probably, although they played together 5 years, I think there was 2 proper seasons where they had enough appearances to do that. Whereas we look at Neymar, Messi, Suarez, they were pretty fit the whole 3-year period.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Messi getting injured once in that time period. Which is why actually that is such a fantastic point. That's why I'm going to go for MSN as the greatest trio, for the last 20 years and probably of all time, just because
of all time. That's a big shout. I think that's another discussion. I think we need to get our dads on this to have that.
I'm going to go with MSN Finch. I don't know about you. Just for that point you made about actually being a trio, not just having that title, actually doing it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
3 seasons. Yeah,
and they were a proper trio for those 3 seasons. They were playing every single game. Was Ronaldo, Bale, Benzema. They were a proper trio maybe 2 seasons. Then they were Ronaldo, Bale was in and out for a period. Benzema was in and out for a period. So it's harder to justify it. Obviously, their stats were amazing. That Champions League they won was amazing, and obviously Bale and Benzema, Ronaldo count trumps in terms of big goals and in the Champions Leagues. But the difference is Messi, Neymar, Suarez were a proper trio, always playing together. That was the key point of Barcelona that period, that trio, and it was absolutely an incredible era. Whereas it was how they worked together and how they assisted each other most of the time. Although the amount of goals they got, they were pretty obviously selfish when they needed to be, but they weren't completely selfish. They were unselfish at times in terms of assisting each other. Whereas with Real Madrid, you obviously have Ronaldo. One of the reasons he is one of the greatest footballers of all time, potentially the greatest, is because how selfish he is. But that is probably to the detriment of a front three because it's all about him.
Yeah, I completely agree. I 100% agree, Finch.
That's what I would put. But I'm talking when I say like this stuff about Ronaldo being selfish, that makes him one of the greatest players in the world. So it's just saying how it relates to the front three, and it's still an amazing front three. It's just one little point why I think the MSN
that front three is a lot more individual than this front three.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah,
the MSN. I think we had the greatest front three of the last 20 years. Definitely, potentially of the period before, but that is another discussion.
Yeah. So,
and I think as well, although you said that they're not as individual players as Madrid's, in any other era, if you put one of those 3 players in any other era, they probably would win the Ballon d'Or in all those eras.
Yeah.
Just because, although Suarez and Neymar haven't won it, they would have won it if you put them in any other era, just because of the amount of goals they got. The only reason they haven't won it is because of Neymar, Messi, and Ronaldo have dominated this era.
Yeah, that's another great point, Finch. That's another great point.
I think we agreed again. So there have been a few weeks recently we've agreed on
2 weeks in a row. Who would have thought it?
It is a standout. The first trio you mentioned are the best trio.
Without a doubt, Finch. And so there we have it, MSN.
This is another podcast done.
Yeah. We thank you all for watching, and hope to see you next time.
See you next time, guys.